Bro, this is Vince Russo, and you are listening to SK Wrestling.
One of the things that I found interesting was you did an interview where you refer to video games and the wrestlers themselves, that video games have not helped wrestlers in their character development because they play the wrestling video games and they think move set, but they don't think character development.
Yep.
How,
Lee, let me tell you what that is exactly. Let me break it down for you because nobody knows how to break any of this stuff down. Let me break it down to you because you seem like a very intelligent guy. Everything I say is logical. Yep. Everything I say is logical. Bro, I started seeing a change in the business when I was at TNA. And bro, listen, looking back now, bro, I'm talking about 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. I started seeing this change in 2006. And let me tell you what I started seeing. I started seeing young guys walking around in the back all day, Lee, and this is what they're doing. I swear to God. They're going through their entire match, move by move, memorizing every single spot. Okay, now let's be logical, Lee. So now, as a wrestler, you're supposed to have a character. Mm-hmm. Every character acts differently in the ring. You know, Jake the Snake as a character is acting different than the Macho Man. Savage is acting different than Hogan. Hogan is acting different than Piper. You're bringing your personality into that match. But here's the problem, Lee. When you're memorizing 50 spots, the first thing that goes out the window is your character. Because you're trying to remember how to get from point A to point B to point C to point D. You're totally forgetting about getting your character over. So now, all of a sudden, Lee, what that turns into is all these wrestlers memorizing their spots. Their characters go out the window because they can't remember both. I can't remember spots and I can't remember character. So guess what, Lee? All of a sudden, you have a show from beginning to end with wrestlers. And the only people that show is going to appeal to are wrestling fans. If you are a television viewer, you are not going to be interested in that show.
Yeah, and it is a TV show, and character development is a huge thing for television. Let's be honest. And as we talk about this, there is one thing that the character development with creative kind of comes to mind with me. How have you ever felt? Because when you were writing for wrestling programs like WWF, WCW, TNA, everybody had character. And I don't mean just, the top few guys that were in the main events. I'm talking the mid-card guys to even like the jobbers, talent enhancement, whatever you want to call them, guys like Dwayne Gill. How have you felt in the past when you hear so-and-so gets released because creative had nothing for them?
The creative should be fired. Creative should be fired unless, bro, let me tell you this, Lee. I'm going to be honest because I want you to understand fully.
Okay.
When I worked at the WWF, okay, see, a lot of people, they would like to say, oh, bro, my success was Vince McMahon was my filter, and the WWE is the only place I was successful because of Vince McMahon. Well, okay, bro, first of all, when I was at TNA, we did 2 million people were watching the show. So I don't consider that a failure. Number two, when I was writing at WCW, the ratings were going up. And number three, Vince McMahon is still there. So if Vince McMahon was the mastermind in the filter, why does today's show suck? I will tell you this, Lee. when I was handed a Jim Ross roster, every single person on that roster deserved to be on that roster. They were stars. I never looked at a Jim Ross roster and was like, shit, Jim, why did you give this guy a job? Like, I'll never be able to get this guy over. When Jim Ross signed somebody, Jim Ross signed a pro. So whether it's D'Lo or Gangrel or bro, yeah, I know looking at that roster, I can get every single one of these people over. Bro, when I went to TNA and Dixie Carter, and bro, kind of there was the friend connection. There was a Scott D'Amore Canada connection, and I would tell Dixie flat out, looking at this roster, Dixie, there are 30% of the wrestlers on this roster that have no reason being on this roster, and I will never be able to get them over. And the reason I won't be able to get them over is because they're not stars and they don't have the it factor. It's like, Lee, you talk about Vince Russo singing, okay? Bro, yeah. Vince Russo is not going to be headlining Madison Square Garden because when it comes to being a singer, I don't have the it factor. All of a sudden on TNA, you had a portion of the roster of guys, and gals that wanted to be wrestlers and somehow, some way found themselves on a wrestling show. And I would tell Dixie, you're never going to get these people over. They're not stars. I didn't say that with one person at the WWE. When I look at AEW today, bro, that 30% has now doubled. That 30% is now 60%. And that had a lot to do. And bro, of course, AEW is built on the buddy system. I mean, that's what AEW is. Everybody and their brother getting their friends and their buddies a payday and taking Tony Khan's money. I mean, bro, billionaire or no billionaire, literally, bro, they're putting their hand in this guy's pocket and robbing him. That is why on every AEW show, bro, in a 2-hour span, you see 80 people. You see 80 people because every time somebody appears on the show, they're getting paid. You can do that AEW show, bro, with a fourth of the people that are on that show. So my point is, bro, if you've got the right talent relations guy with no getting your friends hired or doing anybody favors. No, bro, this is our team. That's how JR was. JR was like, I'm the general manager. This is my team. If this were my money, this is the team. JR wasn't doing anybody favors. JR wasn't hiring friends. So now I know when JR is giving me this roster, bro, if somebody doesn't get over, that's my fault. Because they do have the it factor, and JR did hire stars, and now it was my turn to get them over. If I would have ever said, I don't have anything for so-and-so, bro, you fire me. You don't fire the talent. Now, I'll tell you right now, if I was working for AEW, I would say exactly, bro, there are 50% of this roster I could never get over. Because I could only do so much, bro. But there comes a point where you've got to get yourself over. And I can't go out there and wrestle for you. I can't go out there and perform for you. I can give you directions. But if you can't go out and do that, bro, you're never going to get over.